A video that I can hopefully film as I work in the kitchen. Gotta get some breakfast going. But I was jotting down, this is the notes I take for my videos. This is why I can never make my channel like super organized and all manicured and seamless and a lot of forethought, because I don't have time. So yesterday I redid this. This is the organized version. In categories, so I wouldn't be all scattered, of the things I want to share with you. I wanted to talk about whole food eating, and I guess I'll touch on a few things, but primarily I want to encourage you and inspire you to eat whole foods, and to give you some practical ways that you can without feeling overwhelmed. And like making everything from scratch is this huge task, because it can be very, very easy if you just buy food that is already from scratch, whole foods. So my philosophy with food has always been very straightforward. I feel like I don't really fall into the fads and stuff like that. My supplements are food. I don't like chemicals and isolated nutrients. I just don't think our body was designed to even recognize that or benefit from it. I don't trust capsules. I feel like, who knows if they're all just jammed in our colon right now. And I've heard so many horror stories. So I don't know. I just am really straightforward and simple when it comes to eating. I focus on whole foods, real foods. I don't have seed oils in my life. I avoid chemicals, minimally processed, because obviously like a bag of rice is processed, but it's just rice. It's not like all these chemicals. And I always get the not enriched rice, because that would be added chemicals. I care about ingredients a lot. I avoid fake sugar. You know, like they always say, shop the perimeter in the grocery. Yeah, dairy, meat, veggies, and fruits. And then I go in the middle for things like tomato sauce, peanut butter, jams and jellies, things like that, that I go for organic and minimal ingredients. And some of those things are worth buying versus making from scratch. Although I've tried many of them, I feel like the things that I make from scratch are the things that have been the most doable and practical for our family. Some of them may not work for you at all, which is fine. There's other ways to get them, and there's good quality things out there that you can use instead of. And some may work for you and maybe help you realize that you can do these things too. So that's the point of the video. I also really, really love food. So I want my food to taste good and be healthy and be good quality, like where I get my food from, and nutrient dense. So those things matter to me very much. I feel like the sources I utilize are the farmer's market. Not all year though. I do get my raw milk from the farmer's market, and sometimes veggies. Not always, depends on what they are. When they're in season, I do get my squashes, my zucchini from there, peppers. I grow a lot also, so I just, supplement with what I need from the farmer's market. There are some things that are way more expensive to buy at the farmer's market than to grow myself. So those are the things I focus on growing myself, like tomatoes, greens, potatoes. Those are all the expensive things at the farmer's market. And then the cheap stuff at the farmer's market are peppers, cucumbers, squashes, which I grew all of that last year, but just for fun. And even if I'm growing it, I may still want some more from the market, different varieties. So the farmer's market, if you have one near you, it is such an incredible way to support local farmers and get local food, and you can talk to them and find out what's in the food. Some of them may spray, some of them may not, some of them may have organic, etc. It's a huge deal to know where your food's coming from. Azure Standard, you've heard me talk about them forever. I've been ordering from them for like 13 years now, and I get stuff in bulk, but not huge bulk. Like my wheat grain, that's in bulk. I get 50 pounds of hard white wheat and soft white wheat. I get all-purpose flour, organic, and several other things. I think I made a video not that long ago sharing all the stuff I get from Azure Standard. And I've compared the prices. The quality plus the price is worth it for me. You would have to do the same. With my wheat, I mill my grain into flour and then make sourdough bread. Obviously, that is not for everybody. So I would highly recommend either finding a farmer's market where there's hopefully a bread lady and you can buy your bread from her, or the Amish or the Mennonites. But the Amish and Mennonites are not always very healthy. So look at the ingredients. Although they may be high in sugar, the shorter ingredients list may be worth it for you than store-bought bread. And then of course, if none of that works and you find a good store-bought bread that you feel like the ingredients list is short, it's minimally processed, and you feel comfortable with that, go for it. You could also bake your own, not milling your own flour, but maybe just once a week, make 2 loaves and make them stretch. Bread freezes so nicely. So if you were to bake in bulk and freeze it, you can just take out as needed, and it's really, really amazing how good bread tastes just thawed out. It's very forgiving in that way. Bulk Food Natural is another company I order from. They come once a month through town. I don't know what their route is, if it would be possible for you to order from them. I utilize them primarily for in-season fruit. So right now it's citrus season, so I've been getting lemons, mandarins, navel oranges. I did get some kale from them, and carrots. Beautiful organic produce. And so I got them the last 2 months in a row for citrus. Prior to that was the apple season. And then in the summer, it's peach season. They're just incredible. So I utilize them for the seasonal fruit, and sometimes I get a little extra, like the kale and the carrots this time around. I've gotten blueberries from them before as well. Then I've got a meat farmer and a dairy farmer. And so that's important to me because I get raw local dairy, which I highly recommend that you try to see if you can find that in your area. And from that dairy, you could or not make cheese and butter, or you could buy butter from them. It's just so expensive. So you'd have to figure that out, the pricing. I would buy everything, but it's so expensive, and I have 2 teen boys and they eat a lot, so the food goes fast. And so if I buy everything, I feel like I would be spending so much money compared to if I buy what makes sense to buy and make what makes sense to make. So I don't make all of our cheese. I make cheese sometimes. I never make butter because I am happy with the Aldi grass-fed Irish butter. Even though it's not organic or raw, it is the most affordable grass-fed butter that I can find in all grocery stores. I don't get it from the Amish or the Mennonites because it's really expensive. And I don't make it because it's extremely messy. It doesn't yield that much. It's hard to find raw, heavy cream. I feel like my dairy lady doesn't supply it anymore. And then there's this one health natural food store that sells it, but it's hit or miss and it's out of my way. So I have just settled on the Aldi grass-fed butter. This is the Irish grass-fed butter from Aldi. It's like $3 and some change. Best price I've ever seen. And then this is the cheese I get from Aldi. It's aged white cheddar. I like white because they don't add color to it. And I like aged because it's another fermented food. It is not raw, it is not organic. But again, I factor in all the criteria and narrow it down and decide this is what we could do for now. It may change later, but that's what I do for now. I have many times ordered the 5-pound block of raw aged cheddar from Azure Standard, and they were out of stock so many months in a row that I kind of stopped even checking. But my son reminded me the other day to please check again because it's his favorite cheese. So I will be checking for this month's order. I also have my meat farmer, which I've shared with you before. I've been buying from them for 13 years. I get all of my beef, chicken, pork from them. But again, because of expenses, I don't have the luxury of getting chicken breast and chicken thighs and chicken drumsticks. I get only whole chickens. It's the most affordable way to go. And most of the time I'll make them whole in the Instant Pot and then debone the chicken and use all the meat for whatever dish I'm making. And that works really nicely. And then of course, sometimes I roast the whole chicken as the meal itself in the oven versus the Instant Pot with potatoes and carrots and onions and make it deliciously seasoned and all of that good stuff. So that's how I use my chicken. It's the most affordable way. And sometimes it lasts for 2 meals, which is really also excellent. And ground beef is also the most affordable way to go with buying local organic grass-fed beef. And so I get ground beef from them in bulk. I usually get 20 pounds. And that lasts me a nice amount of time. I get my ground pork from them, Italian sausage from them, and beef roast. And those are the regular purchases that I make all my meals from. On occasion, I'll branch out and get some lamb or some steaks, but it's expensive. So I stick to the affordable cuts so that we can eat the quality that we desire. And then I order things from Amazon. My loose leaf organic teas are from Amazon. My organic coconut milk is from Amazon. I get bulk canned organic coconut milk, full fat. I get my organic ramen noodles from Amazon. I get things like that. I can't think of what else right now, but those are some things I use Amazon for. So if you don't have like something local you can find a particular product at, or if your grocery store doesn't sell something you want and use organic, you can check Amazon. It's really awesome. And I do go to different grocery stores for different things. For example, Kroger, I don't shop at because it's so expensive, but they're the only ones that have organic soy sauce, organic coconut aminos, organic rice vinegar. So I go and get those condiments from them because I do make a lot of Asian inspired meals, and so I want those on hand on a regular basis, organic. I have ordered them from Azure and Amazon, but they're more expensive. The ones at Kroger are very well priced. So that's another source I use. And then local honey. I would highly encourage you to have a honey provider. I get it by the gallon. It's $55. It takes us about 2 months to go through. It's our primary sweetener. I order sugar from Azure Standard, but I only use it for baking and I don't bake that often. So it lasts a long time. Our honey is for tea, for English muffins, for smoothies, for baking, for bread, and we go through it. And then herbs. I love tea. I forage for herbs. I grow herbs. I order herbs from Amazon and I use them in my teas. I use them medicinal tinctures versus commercial medicine, and that's my supplement also. So I take herbal tinctures that I have made, which require just the herb and vodka and steeping for 6 weeks, then straining and bottling, and that's my supplements. There is a world out there about herbs and the medicinal properties they have, and it's powerful and impressive, and I love it. So I utilize that. I also love Juice Plus because it's food. This is why I was even attracted to Juice Plus, because it's literally fruits, berries, and vegetables dehydrated on a low temperature so that it doesn't kill all the nutrients, and then in that powder form they're capsulized or put in a gummy form. So that's why I was sold on Juice Plus. I am not a chemical girl. I don't like gimmicks and fads. I don't go with the trends. I stick with the basics, the classic, basic, logical way. And I feel like eating real food is the logical, basic way of life. Now I know GMOs is an issue, but that's where organic comes in, because if something's organic, it's not GMO. And then of course, soil depletion. But when you're buying from local farmers, that is the beauty of combating these very real concerns and issues. They are feeding and enriching their soil. They have compost piles, and they're growing their food in nutrient-rich soil. So your food is much more nutritionally dense. So that's why farmers market is such a big deal. It can become like a happy Saturday morning event that you do. You go with your coffee, you take your doggy and go walk around the market and buy delicious local produce, meat, cheese, milk, butter, bread, whatever you can to support the local farmers. And then obviously whatever financially works for your family and makes sense for your family, because it can get very expensive. It depends who you buy from and what you're buying. And then if you want to do a garden, you totally can have a small little garden with a few plants and really yield more food than you probably realize. It's very awesome and very fulfilling. So things that I make my bone broth in my Instant Pot. I save all my chicken bones from the chicken I buy from the farmer, and I make bone broth. I don't do it fancy schmancy. I literally put all the bones into the Instant Pot, fill it with water, and put like 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar and let it go for 4 hours. Unplug it, let it cool overnight, and strain it, and I keep it in the fridge. If I didn't use so much of it so often, you could freeze it. So you could do that, or you could buy the organic boxes at the store. I imagine they're high in sodium. I've never bought them. They're a better option than not having bone broth, but bone broth is so easy to make that I encourage you to see if it works in your routine, in your schedule. Bread, I make bread, of course, along with tortillas, pie crust. I mill my grain. Sometimes I make pasta, not always. I've made lasagna noodles. I've made egg noodles. I've made mostly those two. And then I buy organic pasta. We don't eat that much pasta. I love it, but my family doesn't. So it kind of helps me not eat too much of it. And then pie crust, I don't make that often, so that's not an issue, but I use all my grain for my flour and my bread products. Kombucha is another thing I make homemade. I've been making it for 13 years. It is so easy. And I have that going. I also made a drink video recently that you can check out where I share healthy drinks that we make. I know that drinks is a pitfall for a lot of people. I can't relate. I love water so much. Always have. My grandmother used to brag about me. My granddaughter loves water. She loves water. She doesn't like soda. I do not like soda. It's too sweet. It's too carbonated. I don't like the way it makes me feel. Never have my entire life. I love water. I love water. So I make drinks to satisfy the urge for my family with carbonated drinks. A lot of them have carbonated water as the base, and they're healthy and nutrient dense and flavorful and delicious. And so I prefer that. It's way cheaper, way healthier, and it satisfies the fam. So I love making drinks. Kombucha is also a fizzy, flavorful, delicious, healthy drink. I make our yogurt. It's cheaper for me to make our yogurt, and the kids love it. They say it's so much more delicious than the store. So when I used to buy yogurt from the store, I always bought the Stony, whatever, organic, plain. No flavor, because the flavor is sugar. So plain yogurt, and then we would mix in honey or a little spoonful of strawberry jam and nuts and chia seeds, whatever else. So now that I make our yogurt, I also use it for tzatziki sauce when I make gyros or gyros, however you call them. And I use the tzatziki sauce as a dip as well, or if I make some flatbread, delicious. And that's something that I would make in bulk, use it for the meal, but there's always some left over, so we could use it for snacks the next day as dipping for pita or veggies. And then cheese I've made before, usually ricotta, queso fresco, farmer's cheese, mozzarella, the Velveeta cheese that I recently made, but I don't make it that often. I usually buy that cheddar from Aldi or the 5-pound block from Azure. Granola I make regularly. It's a delicious topper for our yogurt or cereal. Instead of cereal from the store, we usually have granola with milk or popcorn with milk. If you're a Little House on the Prairie fan like I am, Farmer Boy taught us that years ago, and we've done it ever since. It's one of our favorite bedtime snacks. We pop popcorn in the air popper, not the microwave popcorn, oh my goodness. And we get a glass with milk in it, some honey, stir the honey up real good in the milk, and then once the popcorn's done popping, we cram it in the cup, and it is wild because the milk can be at the brim of the cup, and no matter how much popcorn you put in there, it does not overflow. It is like science and snack at the same time. So those are our cereal substitutes, granola and popcorn with milk. And then I make my mayonnaise. Easy, delicious, way better than the store. The healthy mayonnaise from the store is so expensive that I'd rather just make it on the spot and use it for mayonnaise for tuna, for sandwiches. I use it for curry mustard sauce. So I make a dish with like yellow rice and chicken and veggies, and then I make this sauce that we top it with, and it's so delicious. It's mayonnaise, mustard, and curry powder. And that usually lasts, I make, again, like a cup and a half, and we still have leftovers, so I'll use it for future meals after that. I use it for salad dressings, like if I make a blue cheese or a ranch, there's mayonnaise in it. I use it for sriracha mayonnaise for like poke bowls and this ground beef potato meal I make. We just stir sriracha into it, and it's all minimal ingredients, delicious homemade sauces that we didn't have to spend money on, And the beautiful thing about our mayonnaise is we do have chickens, and so we have our own eggs, and eggs are in mayonnaise, raw eggs. So I feel very comfortable having our chicken eggs in our mayonnaise. It's organic avocado oil, a little salt, a little mustard powder, and a tablespoon of organic apple cider vinegar. That's it. It's fascinating. So you've got some probiotics in there, you've got some protein in there, and some great omegas. You've got some healthy fats, and not only is it delicious, it's significantly more nutritious and affordable than the grocery store. And then of course I make hummus sometimes. I do not make hummus all the time. Make my chickpeas in the Instant Pot, and they're like a butter, and then blend them up with all the goodies. I make my own salad dressing. I've shown you guys for years my go-to salad dressing. It's equal parts organic olive oil, extra virgin olive oil, organic balsamic vinegar, and raw local honey, equal parts. And then I add a little bit of chia seeds, and they get all like, the caviar kind of consistency because they soften up in there, and it's delicious on everything, on every salad that is. I make my own lard and tallow, or I save it. Well, I make my lard in the crock pot. And last night we used like this much to fry chicken. The amazing thing about lard is that big crash you feel after eating fatty food doesn't happen when you fry your food in lard. I rarely fry my food in lard, but I saved it with the purpose to make fried chicken. And I love fried chicken with honey. It was so delicious. So we had it, loved it. I've made donuts with it. I'll make sourdough brioche dough, and then it stays in the fridge like all week. I love that dough. It is extremely versatile, delicious. It's sourdough, and then I'll make loaves with it or rolls with it and little pastries with it, and then I make donuts with it, and I use the lard to fry them in. So yummy. And I have more lard in the fridge, like in the back, so it stays really cold, because I don't know when I'm gonna use it again. But when I want to deep fry, which again is never, I have lard if it doesn't go bad before then, because we don't typically deep fry. And then tallow, I save the beef fat. I save it as much as I can. And then when I have enough, which takes a long time, I'll make French fries, and they taste just like good old McDonald's fries used to taste. I make our ice cream. I've had the best, the Cuisinart ice cream maker is the best because it's no ice required. Sometimes ice cream machines require crushed ice, and so the ice cream is not creamy, it's icy. So I love the Cuisinart ice cream machine. I've had it for like 10 years, probably more, honestly. And so we make all of our ice cream. It's 4 ingredients, sugar, vanilla extract, which I also make because it's so much cheaper. Just order vanilla beans, put them in a jar, and top them off with vodka. And you have so much organic homemade vanilla extract that is way cheaper. The grocery charges so much. It's crazy. So heavy cream, milk, sugar, and vanilla extract, and you've got vanilla ice cream. And of course you can add things to it to make it different flavors, or you can make the toppings. The chocolate sauce I make is like the best chocolate sauce I've ever had in my life. It's literally a can of sweetened condensed milk, a little bit of butter, chocolate chips, and you heat it up and let it melt. And it is like better than any chocolate sauce ever, 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 ever. I will put the the link in the description box for you. Caramel. The best caramel I've ever had is the one that we make. Maybe you make it. I found it on Pinterest last year and it is like heaven. And then my favorite is vanilla ice cream with that caramel. And then I take pistachios and coat them in maple syrup and put them in the oven to toast them up. And the vanilla ice cream with those pistachios and the caramel, it is so amazing. You have got to try it. Nothing compares. No ice cream I've had anywhere at the store. It is so good and so easy. It is not this big laborious task. So, and obviously it's not every day, so it's so delicious. And then I dry my herbs from the garden. I still have tons of sage and basil, a little bit of thyme from last year's garden. So I grow a lot of herbs. Spring, summer, fall, they just grow, and they're so simple to grow. You can have a little window box in your kitchen or right outside your kitchen and just grow herbs, organic herbs. You can use them fresh for your cooking, and then at the end of the season, you can bring them all in, dry them. They look so beautiful in your kitchen, hanging, drying. They smell so fragrant, and they just add this like happy end of summer feeling in your kitchen. And then you bag them and you have amazing organic fresh dried herbs from your own garden for like all winter, and it's such a difference from the store. But of course they have great options out there. Organic that's different. Organic oregano, I got this from Amazon. Organic parsley from Amazon. So there's great options too. Organic basil, organic, more basil. So there's some great options. Organic cinnamon, to, get as much organic stuff as you can. Dried herbs, seasonings, and spices, you guys. It's so awful, but it is true that if you don't get a good quality herb or spice, there's a very real possibility that they use very cheap filler, particularly sawdust. Okay, this is why it matters what you buy and what you eat. It is not enough to just say it's okay, I this is cheaper, this is easier, it's fine. No, there's stuff in it that they don't tell you, and it's so horrible that they're allowed to do that, but they are. And this is why I care about this stuff. Shredded cheese, never buy it. There's sawdust in it. Shred your own cheese. I know it's an extra step, but at least it's just cheese. So just little things like that you've got to educate yourself about, so that you're not consuming, you're trying your best to do something healthy, and then you don't realize you're eating sawdust. It's disgusting and so wrong of them, but they do it. And then of course from my garden, I sometimes, not always, sometimes can veggies and tomatoes, salsa. I sometimes ferment veggies, particularly peppers. I love fermented peppers, and pickle jalapeno peppers. Oh, pickle jalapeno peppers, pickle my cucumbers, onions, oh, pickled onions, delicious. And I make cowboy candy with the jalapenos, delicious. A little cracker with cream cheese and cowboy candy. And then I save the seeds so that this year's garden is free. I have all my seeds from last year that I will be using in my garden, and I don't have to spend any money except on lettuces. So that's a huge blessing. Now, things that I have made but proved to not be worth it for me because it's way cheaper to just buy the great quality I found at the store. I already said 2 of them, the butter and the cheese. It's not perfect quality, but it's good enough for me to choose this over making it. Not perfect quality, but good enough. Great price. Apple cider vinegar. Cool to make it. Really, really cool. But it takes 30 days. It's one more thing. It's so cheap to buy. And so why? You know? So I don't do that. Instead, I feed my apple cores and peels to my chickens and everybody's happy. Canned vegetables, pickle, fermenting. I do that sometimes, like I just said. Oh, carrots too. I love fermented carrots with ginger. Delicious. Sauerkraut, kimchi, done it all. Love it. I don't keep up with it and do it all the time. I feel like between my kombucha and my aged cheddar and my sourdough breads and my at least one fermented vegetable that I usually have going, I get enough fermented stuff and I don't need to just make an abundance. Sometimes I get into kicks and have a really fun time doing it, and so I'll make a bunch, and that's great, but I don't try to make it an obligation for myself. The other things are kind of obligations, like the bone broth, the bread, the kombucha. They are like what we do, you know, yogurt, granola, mayo. It's what we do. So I will stick with those. They work for my family. They fit, they're easy, they're not a burden. And I don't want to do the other. So for those, it's more commitment. These is looser. Jelly. We've made jelly so many times. I just buy the organic one from Aldi and it's so yummy. I don't eat that much of it anyway. If it was a very highly consumed item in our house, maybe when our blueberry bushes and our raspberry plants and blackberry do better, I'll want to make jelly, and I'm going to be growing more strawberries this year. But I feel like we just eat them fresh and freeze what we don't use. And I like making crisps or cobblers or pies with them more so than making jelly. So I don't know. It's fun if the mood hits, but I don't feel like I need to do it, you know. Milk kefir just has not worked for us. I just never keep up with it. We've tried it. We use smoothies. We make smoothies with it. I'm not going to drink a cup of it or whatever, a little sip of it. I don't want it. I know it's way more probiotics than yogurt, but man, it just never sticks with our family. But I might try it again. I have plenty of friends with cows that will give me kefir, and I could always try it again, but it just has not worked. Crackers, not worth it at all. Work, labor, mess to get like 12 crackers. Not worth it. Not worth it. Not worth it. I will buy soda crackers. Thank you very much. I'm happy. Butter, talked about that already. Coconut milk, I've made many times, but it's better to just get the great quality organic canned and save myself that trouble. And then pumpkin versus canned pumpkin. I can get organic canned pumpkin. Sometimes for fun, I'll roast a whole pumpkin and use the meat and, you know, make soup with it and baked goods with it and give it to my dogs. But that, again, needs to be just a fun, inspiring moment. It's not the way I get my pumpkin. So those are the ones I could think of that I have made but are not like the norm. And then I shared with you the norm. And hopefully you realize you do not have to do all of this. It is very simple for you to get the commitment in your mind, like I'm drinking water and whole foods. How can I get the best of that for what I can afford? What am I willing to make from scratch to save money? And figure that out. Sit down and make a plan, and then have grace on yourself, because you may think, I can bake bread, and then hate it and it not work for you at all. And that's okay. Find a good source for it. Still eat bread if you want to, and find a good source for it, and then see what else you can make instead. But I will say the biggest money savers, the biggest, are bread, yogurt, and growing whatever you can in your garden. Those save so much money. It's amazing. So those are the biggest money savers. But and of course we all eat different things in different quantities. So maybe you barely eat any bread, so it won't save you that much money. But for me, in my house with these boys, it's definitely a must. It's filler. Oh, you're still hungry? Here's some bread, you know? And yeah, so just a very basic daily menu that you can have and focus on whole food eating. In the morning, toast, egg, avocado toast maybe, or a meat, or oatmeal, and you're good. Top your oatmeal with a scoop of peanut butter or almond butter, a little bit of coconut oil if you want some more healthy fat in there, some seeds or nuts, some honey or maple syrup, and you've got an incredible, nutritionally dense, filling, satisfying whole food meal. Or you can go the egg route, do a fried egg on an avocado toast, or fry up a strip of bacon or a little bit of sausage if you need meat. If you have more time, you can make potatoes. But it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It doesn't have to be a lot of ingredients and be an elaborate thing. And the easiest vegetable for breakfast is spinach. If you buy those organic containers of pre-washed spinach, you just throw a little in there, and it's so easy in fried eggs or scrambled eggs, or just raw on avocado toast. So that's an easy 2 ideas for breakfast that you can do and feel great that you had whole foods and nutritionally dense, yummy food. Lunch, dinner's leftovers is my always first option. But you can always pack your lunch if you're gonna go to work for the day. Make some stuff ahead, like maybe you can just make a little extra dinner so you can save yourself a portion of that. That's always awesome. You could have a soup in bulk and warm it up in the morning, put it in your thermos, take it to work. You could have a bed of lettuce with a salmon fillet and some fruits and nuts and other vegetables. You could make a sandwich, which I would prefer like roast or chicken or tuna over deli meat, because that is filled with nitrates, terrible for your stomach, cancer risk for your stomach, big time. If you do tuna, stick with like once a week because it's high in mercury. Don't go over once a week with tuna or fish that's high in mercury. Lunch is simple, or baked potatoes. Like I love potatoes at lunch, sweet potatoes. Then dinner, you know, my usual approach to dinner is a meat, a starch, and a vegetable. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Last night when I made the fried chicken, I did a big sheet pan and I put potatoes, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, olive oil, salt, and pepper, put it in the oven, and then that freed me up to focus on the meat. And I just fried up the chicken. And it was so easy and so delicious. And that had 2 extra steps, the battering. I usually don't do that. I could have just had that in the oven and then just sauteed the chicken with some onions in the pan. But I went an extra step and it still felt extremely easy. I love sheet pan meals. They are easy, delicious. If you want to cook in bulk, you can always pack for your lunch the next day or multiple days. And then a lot of people make their lunches on Sunday. And they have those glass containers that they just do all 5 weekdays, and that way they can take it to lunch or to work for lunch, which is such a better option than not eating or eating something junky that costs money and is terrible for you and is designed to addict you and just has loads of sugar and sodium and not enough protein. Just so bad. And all the fat in it is horrible fat, seed oils like crazy. So there's ways around the traps of convenience. You don't have to be, making everything from scratch, milling your grain. You don't have to be like that. You can really make some great little changes and have a whole foods diet So I hope this video has given you some good ideas. I would love to hear what you got from it, that you're thinking, you know what, never thought of that. I want to try that. I would love to hear what you already do, maybe some ideas that I left out. And I would love to hear how, if you do start to do some of these things and make them the norm for you, how they affect your life, your health, your mood, your sleep, your fitness level, whatever it is. And please share in the comments. So God bless you all, and see you next time.